Okay, so today we're going to go over sending emails through Greater Giving. So we have the option to send Greater Giving emails. The nice thing about Greater Giving emails is they are free to send, and you're only limited by your supporter database. So if you go into View Edit Supporters, so I'm using a training database, which is really small. There's only 214 in here. I know you guys all have much bigger databases than that. But if you want to see like a percentage of how many contacts in that database actually have an email address, you can use your advanced search. And in the space for email contains, put the @ symbol and then search. And this always takes a minute because it scrolls through every single record in the database. So out of that 214, I have 167 email addresses, which is actually a pretty good amount for how small my database is. So if you have a lot of email addresses in your database, by all means, send your emails through here. And I'm sure all of you have heard or seen emails going back and forth about how we are not supposed to send big emails or large mailing lists through Outlook. They really want to push you to use the event software, whether it's Lumina or Greater Giving. So when you are doing an email, always query for yourself first. This is just kind of a fallback. So just in case you accidentally send an email, it's only going to go to you. It's really hard to accidentally send an email as you're building it. So once you have yourself up as a query, you can go to Letters and Emails. And you can either choose an email that's already existing. Maybe you sent a save the date last year. If you want to send basically the same email but just tweak it with this year's information, you can just check it off and hit copy. Oops, I hit copy twice. And then you can just rename those. So I could come in here and edit and change this to 2020 save the date and save it. If the email that you want to craft is not already in there, you're starting new, you can click on the green Add button. I don't recommend using any of the letter templates that are in there. They are extremely old, and there's only a few in there. I prefer to just start with a blank template, and that way I can build it however I want, and I don't have to deal with any of the coding that's already in there. I can name my letter whatever I want. This is not your subject line. This is so that you can recognize that email and what's contained in it. I do recommend always starting with your event year. That way you can sort by event year and not have to, open every single save the date email to try to figure out which one it was that you sent this year versus last year, etc. So we'll call it 2019 Survivor Speaker Announcement. Hit save, and it's now part of my library. And I can edit that. Now the letter itself works a lot like Word. You can do mail merges in here, so you can also, besides sending emails, you can also print these. So you could send a hard copy by doing a mail merge in here and then just sending it to print rather than to email. To put in a merge field, we can type in Dear. Your merge fields are the very first upper left little button here. And you can just choose what field you want to stick in there. So I had dear, I'm going to put in formal salutation. So this will come through as Dear Mrs. Barry. Just keep in mind that if you don't have, if you haven't checked all of your supporter records to make sure that all of the formal salutations come through correctly, like it doesn't say Mr. and blank, if it's supposed to be Mr. and Mrs., sometimes using that formal salutation can get a little tricky. So I can enter that. I can type in any text I want. If you have a pre-existing letter that you just want to copy and paste in there, always use Notepad. So copy it out of the letter and then paste it into Notepad. And Notepad can be found in your accessories on your Windows toolbar. And the reason for that is any already existing customization to the text, all of that will kind of screw up what it looks like in here. So if you have double spaces and some bolds and italics and hard returns and things like that in the original letter, and you just copy and paste it in here, where you had double spaces or hard returns, you're going to have like 4 lines empty. It just really messes with it. So putting it in Notepad erases all of that coding. It strips it all out of there and just pastes in plain text. And then anything you put in there, you can then customize by, highlighting and doing your bold or your italics. So you can change your color, all of that. Make sure if you're taking a while to build your email, make sure you keep hitting save. They say it's been fixed, but better safe than sorry. It actually happened to me a couple times last year, and I kind of wanted to cry. Last year we were having some issues with, as we were constructing emails, if it took longer than 15 minutes, the system timed out, and if you hadn't hit saved, you lost everything you'd done. So just, like I said they fixed it, but just as a safeguard, every so often hit save. You can put in graphics, so if you want to put in a logo or a picture of your survivor, anything like that, you can use your image manager, which is the second little widget in. There's every event has some preloaded images in there, and as you upload more, they stay from year to year. So you'll see like a lot of these are actually really old logos. So to upload something new, you can just click on upload and then go find wherever it is in your computer. So I'm going to grab the Go Red logo. I upload it, and then I want to click on properties. And you can see my width is 904 pixels. It's a huge logo. If I just said insert, it's going in that big. And you don't ever want to resize a graphic by grabbing that corner and dragging. It will distort your logo or your graphic. If you need to resize once you've placed, right click and hit properties. And then you can manually change the size. Say OK, and it brings the size down. And you can keep fiddling with it until it's where you want it to be. If you want to hyperlink something, say we want to bring them to our website, click here for tickets, and you want to hyperlink that website. Okay, I'm just going to grab this. So you want to have your website that you want to hyperlink to. We're just going to copy that URL. And then to link it, I can highlight whatever text I want to link. and this little globe with the chains in front of it is your hyperlink manager. Always backspace out what's already there for the URL and then paste in your URL. Okay, so now I have a link there. If you don't backspace out the http : and you paste in that URL, it will actually double up the HTTP and then your link won't work. So just always clear that out. Once you're done editing, you can preview your email by, we can either click email, we can see it in PDF, we can see it as a Word document, however you want. Obviously, if you're going to be printing this, you want to see it as a Word document. You can change your margins. If I hit refresh preview, it actually creates a Word document for me. And it's opening on the wrong screen. Here we go. So here's what my Word document would look like. And it puts in a sample formal salutation for me so I can see what that would look like. If you want to see email, we can click on that, refresh our preview, and we can see there's the to, the from, the subject. Again, our sample formal salutation. We can see our click here, link, and our graphic. If everything looks good, go ahead and save. And now I have myself in a query already, so I could send myself a test email right now. Always send test emails. Make sure everything comes through looking the way you want it to, and also pass it by, your communications director, your event director, just to make sure that everything is the way they want it to look. So if I wanted to go ahead and send this to myself, I can see I've got 2 supporters, both of them are me. I'm a duplicate in this system. So I can just go straight to email. Now you have a default salutation. We just type in friend of heart there. That way, if you have a blank, say you're using informal salutation, which would be somebody's first name, and you don't have their first name. All you have is Mrs. Barry. Instead of saying dear blank, it'll fill in that blank with friend of heart. The from name can be American Heart Association. It can be Southern New Jersey Go Red for Women. It could be your event director name. It could be your chair's name. Just make sure that if you're using somebody outside of our organization, like the chair or your survivor, or any of those, make sure you have their permission before you send an email out under their name. And then the reply to email address should be whoever you want responses to go to. Generally support staff or event director. If this is going out from your event chair, don't put their email in there. Always put somebody within the AHA. And then the subject line will be what they actually see as a subject line in their email. So this will be your fancy subject. We're going to click email. I'm not sending the email yet. This is what I mean by it's very hard to accidentally send an email. You have to click a few things. You have one more chance to preview. So now I can see what my merge looks like with the actual information. So because I don't have a Mrs. in my supporter record, my formal salutation is just Melissa Berry. I can see my graphic, I can see my link. If I'm happy with the way this looks, I would click email. That would send the email. If there's something in here I want to change, I don't like how big that logo is, I can click on done. That brings me back to where I can edit and I can play around with it some more. Any questions so far? Once you send yourself the test, you look at it, whoever else needs to look at it, looks at it, and everybody says it's good to go. You're going to come into your supporter database, and you can pull any number of mailing lists, depending on who you want this email to go to. So no matter what, you're using your advanced search. Your most basic query would be email contains at, and click twice on opted out. So you get that red X. So this is every record that has an email address in it that has not opted out of receiving emails. Okay. So that's just if you want to send to everybody in your database. If you say wanted to send to just your ELT or just your circle of red, you could say include staff who are on committee, and then choose circle of red or executive leadership team or event chair and leadership team, whoever it is you want to send it to. And then search. This search always takes a few minutes, and the send always takes a few minutes. So don't get nervous when it sits there for a minute. Okay. So once I have my search, I can go to letters and emails. It'll get there in a minute.
Melissa, while we're waiting, was ELT under sponsors? Is that where I would find
staff?
That? Staff? Oh, that's under staff. Okay, Thank you.
Okay. So if we wanted to do this mail merge as a printed letter, we can click on print. If we want to do it as an email, we click on email. Again, you have to put your subject line in there, but the other three, once you fill them in once, if you check the save these settings as defaults, they'll be there every time you go in there. So all you have to do is type in your subject line and say email. You get one more chance to look, and you'll be able to actually preview every single email if you want to. I don't recommend it if you have a huge database. It'll take you forever. If all looks good, click on email. Just know with big databases, it does take a minute for the email to go through, so don't click that button multiple times. We actually had it happen where it was a huge database and somebody clicked the email button thinking it wasn't going through and sent the email 8 times to everyone. And we don't want to do that to our supporters. So click once, go have a cup of coffee, go work on something else, whatever, but just don't touch it again until it goes through for you. And it will say email sent once it goes through. If you want to see your success rate on sending an email, let me just grab one that's been sent. Under project tasks, you have a link to review your sent emails. So if you click on that, you'll be able to see all of the emails that you've sent. You can see where the same email was sent to just one person multiple times. That was her sending herself the test, as it should be. And then the big send to everyone. And she looks like not doing the query to pull out just those people with email addresses. So the reason why most of these have failed is because the supporter has no email address. So if you do that query for email contains at, you won't get as big of a failure rate. But you will be able to see who actually received the email. The not so nice thing about Greater Giving is we can't see if they actually opened the email. So there is that. all we can see is that, yes, it was sent to them. One thing about using Salesforce emails is we can actually see click-through rates and everything like that, but Greater Giving just doesn't have that functionality. So that's it for sending emails through Greater Giving. I am going to stop the recording now